I don't think that my following or my community or my apps make me who I am. I don't think so.
Welcome, Karen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to this much-awaited episode of Slow Days, Fast Company. I think we've spoken over call and we've had quite the email exchange, and now we're finally
here.
we're finally here, and in a beautiful location at that. Could you tell me a little bit about why we're sitting at Cura today?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wanted this setting to be something that's quite meaningful to me, and this space has value personally and commercially for me, because one, we are investors. My husband and I are investors in this place, but also it's where I spent my last birthday with my children, and it's actually one of our favorite as a family to come here, and the food is so good. So that's what I thought, and it almost feels like a home. You know, it has this like kind of homey feel, but also quite serene. So I thought it would be a good place for us to.
That's true, actually. Like, I remember when I walked in this morning, it's quite the opulent space, but because of the way that it's got these contours, it feels a little bit like home. Yeah. Like, you feel very like warm and cozy, and you kind of want to sit down and have like an intimate chat.
Sure.
And I think that's exactly what we're going to have, an intimate chat about the person behind the image of Karen Wazen. And you're a woman that wears many hats. You're a founder of a very successful fashion brand. You're an influencer, a content creator. You're a mother, and a very proud one at that. And now you're a humanitarian. So I'd like to know, when you wake up in the morning, what's the first thought that comes up? What's the first role that you feel like you have to take off your checklist?
Good question. And I wish the answer was easy, because it does differ, every day is kind of different. I would say more consistently, the mother hat is the first one that I have on, because I'm most of the times woken up by my children. So I'm reminded, of the role that I play as a mom. And it's, if I had to say, it's my obviously more important role. So it's the role that I would never really compromise on. And I do have other responsibilities, like you said, and it's always important to find the right balance and the right energy to be able to give all the different aspects in my life the care and the attention that they deserve.
As somebody who's been online for quite a while, and as one of the most recognizable faces of the region's social media culture and scene, I'd like to better understand what it's like to be online as, frequently and as available for like public scrutiny, or even just public entertainment at that, because your life is one that's viewed by millions. What does it feel like to be a person behind that image? Is it entirely curated, or is it as real and raw as what we see today?
So it's also part of, who I've become. So I've been doing this for so long. It's like second nature to me, and I wouldn't even be able to analyze it differently to who I am as a person. It's very much connected with who I am. Initially, the reason I got into social media is because of the love that I had for people, for connecting with, with people, and just connections in general. And in fact, I come from a psychotherapy background. I have my master's in psychotherapy. And the reason I even got into therapy in the first place is because I just really loved connecting with people, listening, and trying to find kind of, a way to add something positive to someone's life. And social media felt like a space for that, where I was connecting with people that some that I knew, some that I didn't know. And I just found a way to somehow inspire or add value or add some touch of positivity to someone's life. And I felt like it was giving me purpose. Social media as well has evolved from what it was. So initially when I first started, there was no commercial aspect to it. So it was purely just showing up and connecting and speaking, and there was, no job behind it, no title behind it. And is kind of the better days, to be very honest, because then it was extremely natural. There was nothing else tied to it. But as obviously, things evolved and times evolved and it became a job, you start thinking about it a little bit differently because you need to show up not just purely for yourself, but also with the brands that you represent. That's why it's always been very important for me to work with brands that I truly believe in, because I wouldn't ever want, to have to show up as someone that's not authentic to my true self. And I believe at least what I, tried as much as I can to do is to build an authentic relationship with my communities. And they know when something feels off, and they know even if I'm tired and I don't, I think that I'm showing up, with makeup on and feeling good. And they're like, you're not yourself today. So they know, it's like, when you go and your mom tells you like, something's wrong, tell me what's wrong. This is my community. We're that close that they can feel, when something is not okay. And it's just honestly beautiful. I think what I built and what we've actually built together is I was amongst the first, like you said, in this industry, and I feel proud to have kind of paved the way for other creators to find their space as well and their room in this industry.
Yeah, and I think the industry, as you said very correctly, is growing and it's taking on a different form, I think, as the algorithm evolves as well. I think gone are the days when you could just about be as authentic as you wanted and not have some of your content maybe governed by a trend or something that might suit an algorithm a little bit more. I think there's a little bit more logistics and thought that goes into the process. But I think I want to better understand what it's like to be a person behind the image that is Karen Wazen. So is it ever overwhelming to put yourself out there day after day and have that kind of public scrutiny, or even that image be as curated as it is?
Definitely there are days, there are days like this and days like that. There are days where I'm like, does anyone even care about what I'm saying? Or am I speaking to anyone that's listening? So there are those days that come with a lot of self-doubt. And there are days where I know exactly what I want from it, There are days where one comment is going to make me laugh. A negative comment might make me laugh. And there are days where a negative comment is going to, make me cry. So at the end of the day, we're all, human. And you have your days. And it's the same thing, I guess, I would say on social media. What I do find myself gravitating towards, though, is because I need to be real, and I need to be, when I speak, I need to speak from the heart and from a place where I'm not calculated. And I do feel that, my main platform has always been Instagram, but I do feel like you said, as the algorithm is changing, it's almost having to change the way I show up, because I feel like they do want more of that kind of trend-focused or curated kind of content, and I do enjoy that part as well, and I do like the art that goes behind as well, the images and the videos and all of that. But I also really love to just show up as myself and just speak and pick up the camera and talk. And I find myself doing that on Snapchat more because I do it without thinking. So I think social media is not limited to one app. There are many apps, and different apps exist for different, with different purposes and different ways to show up. And the one that I usually feel more connected to is the one where I can literally pick up the phone and just say like, guys, today is a good day, is a bad day. I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. It's almost like therapy for me.
Well, in that sense, I think it also makes sense that we talk a little bit about the brand that has become Karen Wazen, because we've gone from an image to now a brand, and a very successful brand, and a brand that I personally love.
Thank you so much.
So I want to know, what is it that, as a mindset, that you have to create a shift from being a content creator to being a CEO and a founder? Because I can understand both are monetary in nature and you gain revenue from both, but it's very different because you cater to people in a very different sense when you're selling them something.
And it's funny because, sometimes I'm at the office doing, what I need to be doing for the brand. And then I'll pick up my phone and I'm like almost somebody else. That's not somebody else. It's another side of me that's going to show up differently when I'm, doing stuff for my, just online. But when I first started, I was very fortunate enough to garner a following, and I started working with brands initially. Lending my voice to the brands and partnering with some of the world's biggest and most successful brands, and it was always an honor, and still is an honor that I'm trusted. I'm a trusted voice, but I did feel that I wanted to lend my voice to something that belonged to me. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I had this kind of, and I'm glad that I had this kind of maturity to understand that this isn't forever. Uh-huh. I'm not going to be, this young girl with energy forever. Yeah. And I need to build something that can live forever. Mm-hmm. And I felt that having my own brand would be the best way to do so. And I'm glad I did at the time that I did, because today, we're 5 years into the brand, and I feel that people are connecting with my brand, people who don't even know who I am, mm-hmm. And people who like the brand independently to who I am as a person. And this is the goal. I want to bump into someone wearing my glasses and look at the person and feel that the person has no idea who I am. Mm-hmm. This is how I feel that, okay, this brand is living beyond me as a person. And when we launched, obviously I was, a little worried because I didn't have any corporate experience. I didn't have any experience in brand building. I was, I come from a psychology background. I had my master's in psychotherapy, and I went straight into social media. So I did have experience with marketing and, storytelling, but not so much in the corporate world. And it's still stuff that I'm having to, learn as we go, and mistakes that I make. And I'm like, oh, maybe if I did have experience, in that space, I could be like, for example, I'm so bad with Excel. Like, I'm so bad with the corporate stuff, But the good thing is, we have amazing teams that we work with that can fill in those gaps. So when we launched, I did want to bring something that was a part of me that was almost tangible that people can have with them. And initially it was for my community only, not, I was purely thinking of them. Like, I know what they want. We speak all the time. They like my glasses. They like my, my sense of style. What can I do for them? And then now I feel like I'm talking to a much wider audience. Uh-huh. I think what also made people connect so strongly with the brand is the story behind the brand. And that is also one that comes from a very kind of vulnerable and authentic place, which is an insecurity that I had with my eyes. Yeah. As you can tell, I have big eyes. And growing up, I didn't feel confident with my eyes. So I always felt more comfortable when I hid them. And the most, natural way to hide them was through sunglasses or eyeglasses. And that's how I truly developed a sense of connection with that product. It became a lot more than just a fashion product. It was very much a power, like a statement, something that gave me power and confidence. And I developed a real connection with that item. And I spoke about the story. And till now, I feel when I wear my sunglasses, I almost feel protected, and I almost feel like empowered and confident. And I wanted, the customers or the community to kind of understand that, and to understand that I felt like I had to tell my story. And people really, really connected with that, because I think everybody has an insecurity. Everyone has something that they, kind of deal with. And I think if you're able to use something that was once something that was weighing you down into something that now not only empowers you, but empowers, people around you, I think you win, and this was really something that, that's something that feels very special about my brand today.
You're very authentic with your audience, and you do keep it real when it comes to the journey of actually creating and growing, building this brand. And as you said very rightly, it comes from a personal story. And so that's why you connect to it. It's not just something that's hype or a trend-driven product. It's something that means to you. So in that case, how do you translate the absolute chaos of actually running a business online to your audience in a way that might be just relatable and not necessarily, curated and glamorous?
Listen, I actually don't feel that I was able to kind of nail that yet, but it is something that I've always had on the back of my mind, because I do want to share this journey. And when you're in it, just doing what you're doing, you're going to forget to pick up the phone and be like, oh, by the way, this is what I just did. You know what I mean? So, and I do have that. And I do have that a lot more. I mean, I do notice these gaps a lot more than I used to before. Sometimes the more busy you are, you know, the more distracted you are from doing other things. And that's why now we just actually, Leal, who's here somewhere, we just, you know, she just joined our team to be able to kind of also highlight that, because I felt like I'm not able to highlight it myself because I'm in it. Mm-hmm. So I needed a perspective from the outside that can highlight the journey, and I'll be able to share that authentically with my community when it's kind of given from a bird's eye kind of, rather than from me through me. You know what I mean? But, I mean, I think it's just been inspiring for people who have been following me from the beginning to see like, oh, this is Karen, you know, that we followed, that you've just, you know, that has been talking to us about her journey, to kind of see where I am today and the brand where it sits today. I think has given a lot of the young girls, especially from our region, I would say, motivation to believe in their own journeys and their own dreams. And I've, you know, many, many times I reflected on the fact that I actually can't believe that I am where I am sometimes. You know, I can't believe that all these A-list celebrities from across the world are wearing my glasses. And I want people to feel that if I can do it, they can do it. So I do try as much as possible to translate this message, and for me to feel like, oh, she was our friend. You know, Karen is our friend. And we've seen her build this to where it is today. Mm-hmm. And it's not so scary. It's not that difficult. I mean, it is, but it's not impossible. You know, it's being surrounded by the right people. It's being committed to your goals. It's being flexible as well, with sometimes having to change your goals depending on, you know, what's happening in the world. And I think knowing what you want, and I will always make sure to communicate that with my community, because I do want them to feel confident enough to follow and chase their dreams.
I think it's very interesting that you've mentioned there is a lot that is happening in the world, and we do live in a very noisy world, because the moment you open your social media or even just do a random internet search, there's so much to look at, and there's so much bustle and noise and just chaos in general online. And you are a voice within all of that chatter online. But what I'd like to better understand is, I think when I was doing a little bit of research for this episode, I came across a phrase that you said quite a bit, and you always said to use your privilege with grace. And I'm very curious what you meant by that. What is using privilege with grace? Because you do come with quite the following, and I'm sure that following has definitely helped with growing the business and the brand that is Karen Wazen. But how are you using your privilege with grace?
This is also something that is, you know, you asked me what is the first thing that I think of in the morning, and what is the first role that I play. So yeah, it is the one of the mom. But what does that really mean? When I show up as a mom, it's really being able to give my children what I truly believe in most. And it's explaining to them the importance of being kind. And being kind is not just, you know, being generous, or being kind is truly for them to understand that this isn't their world. They share this world with people from all over the world. And how they grew up is not how their day-to-day is not the way the day-to-day of other children across the world is. And I want them to understand what it means when they eat, that other children don't have this privilege. What it understands when they're going to school, not to take little things for granted. This is what I believe being kind is really being grateful for what you have, and understanding that what you have is not a given. You are so privileged to have this, and you need to give account to you know, not to be selfish or to feel that you are owed this. You're not owed this. You are lucky enough and privileged enough to have this. And in any way you can make other people from any other, you know, feel that they are a part of this world too, try and do it. And it's hard, because now we're so much more exposed than we ever were. So we do see a lot more, you know, we're exposed to the realities that we used to see on the news, 1 hour a day. We used to know about what's happening in the world, but now we're exposed to every time we pick up our phone. And I do, every time I pick up my phone and I'm about to talk about a new handbag, I see what's happening in the world. And I'm like, what am I even talking about? How does that even matter? And it is a hard disconnect, I think, to be able to carry on with your work, which sometimes might feel very irrelevant in the bigger space of what is actually happening in the world. And this is how I felt like, okay, you know what? We don't have to disconnect them that much. We can bring these two worlds together. I do have a voice. I do have a platform. And I've managed to work a lot with brands, on linking my fashion brand, which might seem, like something quite superficial, with a cause. And I have a role as a Goodwill Ambassador for the UNHCR, which is something that I feel extremely honored and privileged, to have and to be associated with. And I thought, how can we link these two, fashion brands, which again, I say feels like it's not making a real change in anyone's world, to something that can actually be impactful. Mm-hmm. And just through, one product that we sold, we gave 100% of the proceeds to the UNHCR. Mm-hmm. And I felt like my brand had purpose, And I think every brand should kind of think of, that's what I mean by kindness. Like, what can you do? What can you take out of yourself for others? And this is, I guess, again, what for me success looks like.
Do you think your idea of home has changed after interacting very closely with people who've lost theirs?
Definitely. And, when I first started, working closely with the UNHCR, I went on my first visit or mission to one of the settlements. And initially I knew, unfortunately, but I knew very little about, I know that my grandfather was initially a refugee, and I know how he had to work so hard, much harder than I've had to work to build, a family and a home and a job, and even to get a passport and to get all of that. And that's why I always felt very connected to giving a voice to refugees and listening to the stories of refugees, because I've always found them inspiring, but I never visited their world and their space. Initially, I thought, I'm going to help them. I'm going to see what I can do to help them. But I didn't know that they were going to help me. They were going to empower me. And I even feel selfish saying this, because they've already, gone through so much. Above that, they're going to have to also help others. We need to be helping them. But in fact, the way that they are leading their lives and living their lives is, they are honestly by far some of the women are the strongest women that I've ever met. And the decisions that they've had to make are harder than any of the decisions I've had to make as a mom. And yeah, I did come back home, hugged my kids so much. And I remember speaking to my children about this, even though they were quite young, but I'm like, they need to know. They need to know what other children are going through in the same country. They're in the same country right now, but across, just a few kilometers away, what other children are living. And for me as a mom, I had to know just a few kilometers away what other moms are having to deal with. And forever, it changed who I am, I think, as a person. And that's where I felt I really want to be connected to these women, to these children. And I got lucky enough to meet the team behind the UNHCR, the amazing team that continues to inspire me every single day with what they do on the field, behind the scenes, and the care that they have for others. And I just felt I want, in some capacity to be involved in this.
Do you think your community has been able to really resonate with your work and your passion for the role as a Goodwill Ambassador for the UNHCR? Do you think they've been able to accept that version of you as well, given the history that you've had with your audiences?
I mean, I hope so. And I think so, yes, because I do see, every time I share my experience, with or anything that I'm doing closely with the UNHCR, I do get so many saying like, how can we help? What can we do? How can we be a part of this too? And it really makes me so happy when I read this, because I feel, that it's beyond. This is what, like I say, it's that connection, showing that is making other people, that ripple effect, of like, if I can do it, she can do it kind of thing. If she can do it, I can do it. Sorry. So it's not just about building a brand. It's also, if she can help, then I can help. If she can make a difference, then I can make a difference. And I do want to inspire in that way as much as possible. And when I do get these, messages, I get very happy. I share them a lot of the time with Amina, who's here. Because you need their guidance as well on what is the type of, help they would need at the time, because there is an abundance, of help needed. That there's, it's an ongoing crisis, and it's a crisis that unfortunately is escalating and not getting better. So there's never enough help, and it's, I think, my duty as one of the voices to explain to our community how they can help, how they can contribute, where, their donations are going, how their donations are being, because there's also a lot of misconceptions. People, at least I know from my country and even my close friends, needed awareness on actually where is this going, and where is the money going? How are they benefiting from this? What are the type of changes that someone is making in another person's life? And I think it's important, to be fully transparent when it comes to this. And I think this is why connecting with storytellers is also good, because you can actually show first-handedly, not curated, not through a produced piece of content.
That's the reality.
That's the reality, exactly. What their stories are, listen to their stories, and how can you contribute into making their, one of the decisions in their lives a bit easier to make.
What do you think is the simplest way if somebody could help?
I want to say that it's donations, but before donations, there should be care. You need to feel that you care about these people, and you need to feel that you listen to their stories. I think these are two very important things before the donations. When you listen and you don't scroll past it, you're going to care. Because you're going to realize that these are people like you who have not made a decision to be where they are today. They were forced to flee. They were forced to go after safety. They were forced to protect their children or their families in any way possible. And they want to be home, and they would rather be home, but they can't. So once you listen to this and you understand where it's coming from, you're going to care. And when you care, you're going to feel like, okay, what can I do today to help? What can I do today to add, again, like I said, because these women and children and men are having to make decisions that a human in a life is not supposed to make. You're not supposed to decide if I can give my child, should I give my child food or medicine today? You're supposed to be able to give them medicine if they need and feed them when they're hungry, but they're not able to do this. And I think any human that hears this is supposed to feel like, okay, I have food, I want to give you food. I have medicine, I want to give you medicine. And then you have the UNHCR that is facilitating all of this without you having to, because they are the ones listening to the needs of the refugees. They know every single family, every single individual, what they need. And they are there to accommodate. So once you care, you donate. Once you donate and you trust the UNHCR will make sure that this donation is going in the right places, prioritizing who needs the most immediate help, and making sure that it's going in the right places.
As an advocate for using your voice and using the platform that you have to the best of your ability, what does using your voice look like on a random Tuesday for somebody who wears multiple hats?
Yeah. Again, I think it differs. So on days, on a typical Tuesday, I would say I just want to make people feel good. I want people to get inspired by small things. It can be from what to wear today to a healthy journey that I'm on. I want people to feel like, oh, Karen is doing 10,000 steps a day. Maybe I can do 10,000 steps a day. And doing 10,000 steps a day is good for you. So even small things like that, I feel like I'm making a positive influence to something a bit, more impactful, so it can really, it stems from a just feel good entertainment moment to something more substantial. And as a human as well, I think it's hard to constantly be exposed. And as myself, I know that sometimes I'm just, it gets too much. And even I can't, like, with what we've been witnessing over the past 2 years with the genocide in Gaza, it felt too much for me to watch this and to see so much suffering that sometimes I would need to put my phone away. I need to watch light content. I needed that too, for my sanity, and I also wanted to be this person where, I'm going to be, where I was showing up to people in also a lighter way, where people were like, okay, there is, something horrifying happening, but we need to disconnect a little bit to be able to also reconnect and help. And, so sometimes I think it's important to do that. And they say, like, and I always give this example even to myself, when you're, on a plane, they tell you, in case something happens, you have to wear the oxygen mask first before, even before helping your children. You need to help yourself to be able to help others. So I think it's always important to be in that mindset of helping yourself, being there for yourself, to be able to be there for others.
As somebody who has such a strong sense of community and also a very specific sense of purpose and what you'd like to do with your platform, I think it's very important that we speak about what happens when the cameras are off. Is life mundane for you, Karen, or is life glorious and just as vibrant as we see it online?
It's definitely close to what you see online, very close to what you see online. I feel like one of the luckiest, as a child, I was very, very lucky to have parents and especially a mom, that instilled so much gratitude in us and made us really understand how the concept of looking at the glass half full rather than half empty. And I feel very, very lucky that it's come so natural and quick to me. So I've always been very grateful for all the blessings that I've had. I've always been very positive as a person. And that's in fact why I've always had a lot of friends when I was young. I was always a very good listener. I was always someone that people came towards when they were down because they felt like they were going to leave this conversation feeling better. And even my husband, when he's down, he just wants to hang out with me because he knows that I'm going to be, some sort of positive, I have some sort of positive effect on him. And even with my children, I'm always like, we're fun, we're fun, we're grateful, and life is short, and I really want to be able to make the best out of it. Sometimes I feel tired. This is what I would tell you. Like now I'm in a phase where I have so much traveling, so I do feel a bit like, a bit of fatigue. But again, I'm like, but you're so lucky that you get to do this and that and have a family that's there for you, and you need to show up to that family. So I find that strength in me to kind of like get myself together and be that mom I want to be and be that businesswoman I want to be.
Over the last couple of years, with your audience growing, do you think you've become a more empathetic person with the kind of content that you've put out and how your content has evolved?
I would say I'm an empathetic person in general. I'm someone who actually feels a lot with others, and how other people feel kind of rubs off against me as well, whether it's positively or negatively. So I'm always feeling a lot, with people. And sometimes it's a good thing, and sometimes it's not. Yeah. Because sometimes I overthink things and I overfeel things, and I'm not supposed to be responsible for other people's feelings as well, But I've always been quite, or at least I hope I am, very caring in the way that I handle my voice and my space on social media. And I never want to be someone that is going to show up to make another person feel offended or to feel like they feel less of themselves because of me, or, so even if, I do work with the world of luxury, and I know that it's at the end of the day, the world of luxury does feel a little bit, overwhelming, and it does feel far from, reality. Yeah. And I try at least as much as possible to not glorify that world in a way where like, oh, you're missing out by not being there. Absolutely not. This is where I happen to work and what I happen to do. And, I do like to spoil myself whenever I can after working really hard for, towards that. But I never want to portray the world of luxury as a goal. I do not see it as a goal.
If today, for instance, your entire following on social media was taken away, all the numbers went away, the community went away, what do you think you would do to cement the idea of who Karen Wazen is?
I don't think that my following or my community or my apps make me who I am. I don't think so. I think they've added, ways of connecting with people. But I do think that even without social media, I would be connecting with people in a different manner because it's just who I am as a person. But I don't think it would change who I am at all. I really think I have succeeded on social media because of who I am. And it's not the other way around, I think that I am a person who is quite, I'm business-minded for sure. I do want to create things out of an opportunity that I see. I'm also kind and ethical and I like people. I love to connect with people and I love to keep an impact on people. And I think I will have always found a way to do so, regardless of if it's done through Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok or an app or TV or on the streets. I just think this is who I am.
I think that's as raw and real a message as we could get.
I want to add one thing. Speaking of raw and real, you've mentioned that I am a humanitarian a few times. And as much as I would absolutely love to, pride myself with this title, I think I do some humanitarian actions, but I think that there are a lot more people that deserve this title as humanitarians than I do. And I feel very grateful for having the opportunities to do humanitarian actions, but I feel that having the title of humanitarian is bigger than what I deserve. So if I had to be very honest, I feel that people have dedicated their lives to others, and I don't feel that I deserve to be in the same pool as these women.
But I think every effort counts. And I think that's something that we definitely see online. And I think it's also something that we perhaps forget, because a lot of the times when we follow our favorite influencers or content creators through their lives and through their journeys, we see them evolve as people, right? We see your story evolve and we see you grow up almost online. And so when you start wearing different hats and when you start becoming a bigger part of the ecosystem, I think it just is what it is. And it just makes you a fuller person. And I think that's really what you are. Beyond the face, beyond the brand, it's just a person who's lived a very full life. Well, it was lovely speaking to you, Karen.
Thank you so much. Me too. And sorry for all the, background noises.
No, it's all
maybe
raw
added a
and
bit
real.
of, exactly. Speaking of authentic, this is how it is.
This is how it is, yeah. Well,
Thank you so much.
It's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this. I really did. I think we have to
polish off these desserts now.
Thank you.
Thank you.